Okay, so you're looking to get smart on the latest in gaming, right?
Yeah.
Figure out what's worth your time without, wading through tons of reviews.
Exactly. That's what we do here.
And today, we're doing just that. We're diving deep into a review for Indiana Jones and the Great Circle Standard on the PS5.
Right. And knowing how iconic Indy is, and that you want the essentials quickly, our goal is pretty clear today. We've pulled out the key stuff from a review. So you get a really solid handle on what this game is, its strengths, weaknesses, basically a fast track before you even consider buying it.
Precisely. We're hitting the highlights, what works, what maybe doesn't, and does it feel like Indiana Jones? All without you needing the full text.
Yeah.
Okay, so the reviewer kicks off saying the game had a, quote, tough task. Living up to that indie legacy, finding its place now. That's a high bar, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. Huge expectations. I mean, those films are massive.
Yeah.
So the reviewer straight up calls it a love letter to classic action adventure, which for you suggests they're deliberately tapping into that nostalgia, Dusty tombs, puzzles, escapes, the witty lines, stuff we associate with indie.
Right, so leaning into the familiar, it's described as a tightly paced third-person action experience. Sounds like it doesn't try to be overly ambitious, no massive open world or anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Seems like a smart move. The review stresses the focus is on those key indie things. Good story, exploration, and Dotsie punching.
Can't forget that.
That's probably a big hook for fans wanting that classic vibe, I imagine.
No doubt. Okay, so what about when you actually play it? The visuals, the sound, what's the atmosphere like?
Well, the review's pretty positive there. Calls the presentation and atmosphere a treat on PS5. Specifically mentions good lighting, environment design.
Yeah.
Stuff that pulls you in.
Yeah, immersion's key.
Right.
And the locations sound spot on. Shadowy jungles, ancient temples, 1930s cities, icy mountaintops, classic indie globe-trotting.
Totally. And they feel distinct and lived in, apparently, not just empty sets. That sense of place is just crucial, isn't it? And the lighting gets a specific mention for building tension, especially in dark tombs. Gives it a cinematic quality.
Makes sense. Connects to the movies. What about the characters, the voices? Do they work?
Voice acting's called solid.
Oh.
The guy doing Indy, well, he gets the charm, gruffness, and weariness balance without just impersonating Harrison Ford, which sounds like the right call.
Yeah, probably wise.
And the supporting cast. Genuinely likable allies and properly hissable villains. Got that old school serial feel.
Nice. And the music. You gotta have the music.
Oh, yeah, that's mentioned. Highly effective. It riffs on the John Williams themes, apparently, but feels entirely at home. It's what you want, really. Enhances the whole indie feel.
Okay, so it looks and sounds the part. Big question, then. How does it play? The actual mechanics.
The review uses a good phrase. Familiar but fun. So, like you said, not reinventing the wheel, but doing the established stuff with confidence.
Right.
You're looking at a mix of platforming, some light puzzles, a bit of stealth, and combat.
Platforming's always big in these games. How's the traversal? Clunky. Smooth.
Described as smooth and intuitive. Interestingly, they compare it to Uncharted, but say it feels more grounded. So climbing, swinging, but maybe a bit less superhero-y, more believable.
Gotcha. And when Indy gets into a scrap, combat.
It's a mix. Melee's emphasized, described as satisfyingly weighty. Got a rhythm. Punch, dodge, counter. Gunplay is there, but it's called less refined.
Which kind of fits Indy, doesn't it? He's more about the fists.
Yeah, exactly. Thematically, it works.
And the whip. Can't forget the whip. How's that used?
Definitely a highlight, according to the review. Used for getting around, traversal and in combat, disarming bad guys, pulling them into traps, that kind of thing. Sounds pretty versatile and fun.
Cool. And the puzzles, are they going to stump you for ages or more straightforward?
They apparently strike a decent balance. Challenging, but not, impossible.
Yep.
And they're seamlessly integrated into the world, which is good. Not just random logic puzzles dropped in.
Makes them feel more natural. Okay, so gameplay sounds solid. What's the story driving it all?
Pretty much exactly what you'd expect, A globe-trotting mystery set between Raiders and Last Crusade. Ancient civilizations, powerful relics.
And Nazis.
And a sinister Nazi plot, naturally. The main thing everyone's after, the MacGuffin, is this great circle, some secret ancient network with big power. Both sides want it.
Classic setup. How's the pacing? Does it keep you hooked?
Review praises the brisk pacing and the variety. You're jumping between Mayan tomb traps, a motorbike chase in Berlin, deciphering clues. Sounds like it keeps moving.
Doesn't get bogged down.
Right. Might feel a bit abrupt sometimes between sections, but the sense of adventure is ever present.
And the characters you meet along the way, besides Indy.
Character stuff is described as modest but effective. Indy's how we know him. Sardonic, stubborn, just a little bit broken. He's got relationships with a brave archaeologist companion, a morally gray informant, an old slave, adds personal stakes.
Good, good. And the bad guys.
Oh, they sound perfectly over the top. Especially mentions a perfectly punchable, monologuing Nazi occultist. You know the type. Loves esoteric history.
Gotta love a good monologuing villain.
Yeah.
Okay, performance. It's PS5. Does it run well? Use the hardware?
Yeah, review says it runs well, just a few minor hiccups. Load times are pleasantly short, thanks SSD. Frame rate's steady. You've got the usual modes. 60 TP, so performance mode is recommended for smoother gameplay.
And the DualSense controller. Any cool feedback?
Yep, gets called a nice touch. You feel the tension in the whip. The triggers add resistance for shooting, climbing. Doesn't change the game fundamentally, but adds to the immersion.
Any technical glitches? Anything broken?
Mentioned a couple of physics oddities. Maybe getting stuck on scenery sometimes. And this is key, not game-breaking. Sounds like stuff that could easily get patched later.
Okay, standard stuff for a new release, maybe? So overall, sounds pretty positive. But what are the downsides? Where did the reviewer think it fell short?
Main point seems to be it doesn't do much to innovate. The structure, puzzles, fights, cutscenes is going to feel very familiar if you've played other action-adventure games recently.
Right, plays it safe, maybe?
Kind of seems like it.
Yeah.
And the heavy reliance on nostalgia, great for fans, maybe less appealing if you want something brand new.
Fair point.
Yeah.
Any other gameplay niggles?
The enemy AI is called a bit dim, especially in stealth. Sounds like guards might not be the sharpest tools in the shed. Could make it a bit easy sometimes.
Oh.
Also, the environments, while gorgeous, aren't particularly interactive. Usually a clear path, a right way to solve things,
Yeah.
less open-ended exploration.
And replayability. Much reason to go back after you finish.
Sounds limited. Review notes a lack of significant side stuff or optional exploring. Pretty linear, which keeps the story moving, but maybe not much reason for a second playthrough beyond finding collectibles.
Oh, okay. Got it. So, summing it all up, the final verdict. What's the takeaway message?
Reviewer concludes it's consistently entertaining, tightly crafted, really plays to its strengths. Atmosphere, character, that cinematic feel. It might not innovate, but it's called one of the most fun options out there.
And for the die-hard indie fans.
A dream come true, apparently. Delivers an authentic Indiana Jones experience. But even if you're just a general fan of the genre, it's a solid, enjoyable ride.
So, maybe not as tight mechanically as Uncharted or as deep as Tomb Raider, but it nails the charm, excitement, and good old-fashioned fun. What score did it get?
An 8 out of 10. Described as a rollicking adventure with heart and grit, occasionally clumsy, but always entertaining.
8 out of 10. Okay. All right, so that's our deep dive into the review for Indiana Jones and the Great Circle Standard. Hopefully you've got a much clearer picture now, the good, the bad, the feel of it, without needing to read the whole thing yourself.
Exactly. We've hit the core gameplay, the presentation, story, performance, the criticisms. Should give you a solid basis to decide if you want to grab your fedora and whip for this one.
And just a final thought to leave you with. Think about those classic indie movies. What are the absolute essential things a game has to capture to feel right? And based on what we've discussed, does it sound like this one finds that treasure?